What if I told you a 3-bedroom home can go from chaos to calm in just 48 hours? Sounds impossible, right? But it's not. There's a system that actually works. And once you see how it flows, you'll never go back to the old way of decluttering. Stick with me, because the last tip is the one that completely changes how you deal with sentimental clutter. Now, before we dive in, quick question. Where are you watching from? I love knowing how far and wide this community reaches. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the rest of these practical homemaking tricks. Okay, let's get into it. Here's the secret. You don't need weeks, you don't need a professional organizer, and you definitely don't need to buy fancy bins before you start. What you need is speed, structure, and a couple of tricks to outsmart your brain. The first one is what I call the 5-second mercy rule. Here's how it works. Every single time you pick up an item, you've got 5 seconds. Count it out. 1 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. By the end, you decide keep, donate, or trash. That's it. No maybe pile, no sitting on the fence. The magic is that you save your energy because, let's be honest, decision fatigue is real. It's that moment when you're staring at a box of mismatched Tupperware lids and suddenly feel like you need a nap. This rule saves you from that. Now, here's a little quick win to make it even easier. The 15-minute tornado sprint. Set a timer for 15 minutes and just blitz through one small area, junk drawer, bathroom shelf, nightstand. Doesn't matter. Use the 5-second rule, make those snap calls, and when the timer buzzes, stop. Then give yourself a 5-minute break. You'll be surprised how much progress you can make in a single round. And you know what happens? You actually start building momentum. It's like tricking your brain into thinking, oh, that wasn't so bad, let's do another. Do you already do something like this, or is this completely new to you? I'd love to know. Drop it in the comments so we can share what works. And speaking of momentum, here's the part most people miss. When you start decluttering, you don't actually need to overhaul a whole room at once. You just need a handful of these short sprints, because what kills motivation isn't the stuff itself. It's the feeling that it's never ending. But when you chunk it down, you get these little wins stacked on top of each other, and suddenly your house doesn't feel like a giant project anymore. I'll tell you a little secret. Sometimes I'll set that timer, attack one kitchen drawer, and then leave the mess spread out on the counter. Why? Because the next time I walk by, I can't resist finishing it. It's almost like baiting yourself into progress. Try it once, and you'll see what I mean. Oh, and don't forget, if this is already sparking ideas for you, tap that like button. It helps so much, and it lets me know these kinds of tips are useful. Here's the bottom line for this first step. Keep it fast, keep it simple, and don't let yourself overthink. If you start now, in the time it takes for a coffee break, you could have one whole drawer or shelf done. And that's how the 48-hour transformation begins. Not with stress, not with perfection, but with 5 seconds of decision and a tiny tornado of energy. All right, so once you've got that quick start energy from the 5-second rule and those little tornado sprints, it's time to bring in some structure, because let's be honest, without a plan, it's easy to get stuck halfway through the living room surrounded by piles and wondering why you started in the first place. Here's where the legacy box system comes in. It's simple but powerful. In every room, set up 3 boxes, one for daily use. That's the stuff you actually reach for all the time. One for what I call legacy, which is your sentimental or memory items. And the last one for donate or trash. Now here's the catch. The legacy box can only hold about 20% of what you keep. That limit forces you to be honest. You're not erasing memories, you're just choosing the very best ones. And believe me, when you give yourself boundaries like that, it feels freeing instead of restrictive. Let me paint you a picture. You open a closet and pull out a box of random keepsakes. Old school programs, mismatched holiday ornaments, a mug from that vacation 10 years ago. Normally, you'd close the lid and shove it back. But with this system, you ask, do I really use this? Does it belong in my legacy box? Or is it time to bless someone else with it? It's amazing how clear the answer gets when you stick to those 3 categories. Now, the next piece of the puzzle is scheduling. Because if you try to declutter your whole house in one marathon, you'll burn out by lunchtime. The room rotation technique fixes that. Here's how it looks. 4-hour blocks with real breaks in between. Saturday morning, tackle the bedroom. Saturday afternoon, move to the living room. After dinner, do a couple of hours just on the kitchen surfaces. Then Sunday morning, bathrooms and closets. Sunday afternoon, garage or basement. By Sunday evening, you've touched every major space without feeling like you ran a marathon. And here's the sneaky benefit. Your brain stays sharp. You know how after hours of sorting, everything starts to blur together and suddenly you're debating the emotional value of a half-used candle? Yeah, that's the decision fatigue creeping in. Rotating rooms keeps your energy fresh. Now, let me ask you, if you had to pick, which room would you start with first? The bedroom for a peaceful reset or the kitchen for that instant wow factor? I always think it's fascinating where people feel the most motivated to begin. Oh, and don't click away because in a bit we're going to hit something that changes the way you handle every sentimental item forever. That's hack number 7, and I promise it's the game changer. But before we get there, I've got to say this. Don't underestimate the power limits. The boxes, the time slots, the breaks, they're not about restricting you. They're about saving you from the burnout that usually kills a good decluttering streak. Think of it this way. 4-hour marathons versus 4-hour power naps. You know which one your body's going to choose, right? Same logic here. And if you're enjoying this so far, make sure you're subscribed. That way you'll catch the next set of hacks where we dive deep into the emotional side of clutter, the part nobody really talks about, but it's the reason most decluttering days don't stick. Now, here's where things get interesting. Because decluttering isn't just about the stuff sitting on your shelves. It's about the tug of war happening in your head and heart. If you don't get the emotional side right, even the best systems won't stick. One of my favorite tricks is what I call the future self visualization. Sounds fancy, but it's really simple. Close your eyes for a moment and picture yourself 1 year from now living in a home that feels light, peaceful, and uncluttered. Walk through the rooms in your mind. Everything has a place. The counters are clear. Closets open without things falling out. Now, when you pick up an item and hesitate, just ask, will future me thank me for keeping this or for letting it go? That one question cuts through so much of the second guessing. And here's the part most people forget. You've already built up wisdom from years of life experience. I call this the wisdom advantage. You don't need to overthink every decision. You already know deep down what matters and what doesn't. Trust your gut. That popcorn maker you used once in 2012? Yeah, future you is not hosting a gourmet popcorn night anytime soon. Let it go. But then comes the hardest category of all, sentimental items. And this is where hack number 7 comes in, the memory preservation method. And I'm not kidding when I say this changes everything. Here's how it works. For each category of sentimental items, you keep only 1 or 2 of the best pieces, the things that really spark a smile when you see them. The rest, you photograph them. Create a digital album, tuck them into cloud storage, or even print a photo book later if you want. Because here's the truth. Your memories live in you, not in dusty boxes. I know. It feels wrong at first, like tossing the t-shirt from your first concert or your kid's 5th grade art project. But once you realize you can honor the memory without storing the object, it gets easier. You free up space, but you don't lose the story. Let me throw a relatable one at you. You ever open a memory box that's supposed to be special, but instead it's overflowing with random birthday cards, faded receipts and half-broken trinkets, it doesn't feel meaningful anymore. It just feels like clutter with guilt attached. The memory preservation method flips that. Instead of drowning in keepsakes, you end up with a curated set that actually makes you smile. Do you already do this? Taking photos of keepsakes? Or is this idea brand new for you? I'd love to know how you handle sentimental clutter, because everyone has their own little system. Here's the big picture. By visualizing your future self, leaning on your life experience, and preserving memories in smarter ways, you stop being a hostage to stuff. Instead, you start choosing what deserves space in your home and what deserves space in your heart. And stick with me, because next we're going to tackle the family factor. The one thing that can completely derail all your hard work if you don't set boundaries early. Plus, I'll share a strategy that actually makes that growing donation pile more motivating instead of discouraging. All right, let's talk about two things that can either make or break your 48-hour declutter: family and follow-through. Because it doesn't matter how efficient your system is, if other people keep sneaking stuff back into the house, or if those donation piles never actually leave, the clutter just circles back. First, the donation station strategy. This one is so simple, but it works wonders. Instead of scattering bags and boxes all over the place, you designate one single spot. A corner of the garage, the mudroom, even a spare bedroom if you've got it. Every donation item goes there, no exceptions. And here's the trick. Watching that pile grow is actually motivating. It's like visible proof of your progress. Then at the end of your 48 hours, you do one big donation run, out the door, gone, done. No lingering bags haunting your hallway for weeks. Now let's be real. Sometimes the hardest part of decluttering isn't the stuff, it's the people. That's where the family involvement protocol comes in. Before you even start, gather everyone who lives in the house and set the ground rules. Something like, support my decisions, don't rescue items from the donation pile, and if you want to keep something, claim it within 1 week or it goes. It's fair, it's clear, and it stops drama before it starts. Because nothing derails progress faster than your spouse fishing a cracked coffee mug out of the box, insisting it's their favorite. And you know what? A little humor goes a long way here. I once saw someone try to rescue a t-shirt they hadn't worn since 2009 because it had good memories. Let's be honest, if you haven't reached for it in over a decade, the memory's not in the shirt. It's in you. Once the rules are set and the donation station is moving, it's time for the fun part, the victory lap celebration. This is how you lock in that sense of accomplishment so it sticks. Step 1, photograph your before and after shots. Trust me, nothing feels better than scrolling back and seeing just how far you've come. Step 2, write yourself a little note. Something encouraging like, future me, remember how light and free this feels. Seal it and tuck it away. Then step 3, plan a special activity in your refreshed space. Invite a friend over, light a candle, or just sit in your clutter-free living room with a cup of tea. Anchoring that joy to your hard work makes you want to keep it going. So, here's the question I'll leave you with. Which hack will you try first? The 5-second rule to get moving, the legacy box to set boundaries, or the memory preservation trick to finally deal with sentimental clutter? Whichever one you choose, remember, decluttering doesn't have to be overwhelming, and it doesn't have to take forever. In just 48 hours, you can transform your home from chaos to calm. And once you feel that shift, you'll never look at just-in-case items the same way again. If this video gave you some motivation, make sure you like it and subscribe, because there's plenty more homemaking inspiration coming your way. And until then, enjoy that lighter, calmer space you've created.